you can get stuff out of him. I don't think he's a horrible player. One of the things, guys, I think that Ben Johnson is going to provide them is he may decide that they want to move on from him. I don't think that'll be the case.
Good morning, Tom. How are you?
I'm good. Am I allowed in with bell-bottom corduroy pants today for you guys?
Tommy, you wear whatever you want to.
Because you're Tom Waddle.
Yeah,
Actually,
you're
I'm
Tom
not wearing
Waddle.
any pants. So
That's kind of what I figured.
yeah.
That's because he forgot. He was not told to put his pants on.
No, he was told it was just the shot was just going to be waist up.
Uh-huh. And no
And then
TV.
the camera pans, and then all of a sudden we just see the boxers.
Yeah, I didn't know there was going to be a shot. So, but Hoodie, you're closer to it. I forgot. Yeah, that's probably more of a good explanation.
You're always reminded, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Tom,
Put your pants on before
pants.
you go out.
Oh, sorry. And that's why the good Lord made robes.
I've never worn a robe in my life.
You watched The Sopranos all those years and want to put a robe on once?
No, well, I watched it all, and I never killed anybody either,
Wow.
Jonathan. So,
Let's be honest.
So I am being honest.
In those backwoods, the backwoods of Highland
There's
Heights.
some guys,
you just
but-
never know.
But no, never had a. I'm sure I've worn a robe at some point, but I don't have like a robe in my house. It's not part of my gear.
Yeah, not a robe guy. I've never I've never worn a robe either.
Really?
No.
Yeah, it's not part of. I don't know.
My
I never
dad was a
gravitated.
big robe guy.
Robes are listen. You're going to get the massage, or you're going to a sauna. The robe's on.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
a his and hers robe.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you have the robe.
No, you see Abdalla just striding in butt naked. That's what he.
Oh,
does.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm making everyone uncomfortable. Stretching.
and that's the world we live
Stretch.
in.
Are you one of the guys too, Adam, that when you get out of the shower, like you go to the sink, you put one of your feet up on and you dry everything off?
I'm
while
cutting my
everyone's
toenails.
standing around?
I'm putting the foot up on the sink, cutting
Oh,
the
my
toenails,
God.
using the hand dryer.
Yeah,
Why not?
that's gross.
Why not? We're guys after all.
You're assuming I go to the gym.
So this piece from the Athletic, Tom, Bears salary cap analysis, how GM Ryan Poles can take advantage of his resources this offseason. I've said, listen, Tom, there's been some guys in that locker room that's had a lot to say during this losing season. That's not the reason to cut him. I think you have to take a hard analysis if you're Ben Johnson and the staff and say, is the juice worth the squeeze? If we made a couple of cuts here and get younger in some spots, is it worth it? The names that we have in front of us, Adam, Kevin Byard, Gerald Everett, DeMarcus Walker, Cairo Santos, Ryan Bates. But could the Bears continue with that list?
I think it's interesting. Byard's a guy that I wouldn't mind keeping and bringing him back. And what's he cost you? $6 or $7 million probably.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some uncertainty with Brisker next to him. I think Kevin actually played pretty well last year, to be honest with you. Is also veteran. Don't think he was one of the guys in the room that was constantly complaining. So I would be on board with them keeping Byard. Swift is a guy that I think people are going to talk about. I just don't know how much you save by moving off of him. In fact, I think, aren't you? I don't know all the numbers, but I think you're committed to him for another $7.5 million. So getting rid of him or moving on from him, it's the same thing with Edmonds. I've heard Yerk talk about it quite a bit, that he would just move on from him. Edmonds is 26 years old. This past year was not good. The year before, I thought he played pretty well in his first year as a Bear. I would let Dennis Allen kind of help me make that decision, if you know what I mean. And that guy too is like the contract. I don't think you're saving anything. I think if you get rid of Edmonds, he counts pretty much basically what his salary is, right? And then you got to fill his spot. So I think it's probably more fiscally doable to move on from him after 2025 if you see comparable production from him this year.
Yeah, and Shea brought this up during the meeting because I want the Bears Nation hate directed at him and not me.
Is it kicker?
It's that if you cut Cole Kmet post June 1st, you're saving $10 million.
Oh,
on
Jesus,
the cap.
not Cole Kmet.
Listen, I like Cole Kmet. He's just been very disappointing. I don't know if he's going to. I don't know if with Ben Johnson, a new offensive coordinator, new offensive-minded head coach, if he's going to get better, or if now's the time to save $10 million on the cap and pick
What's
a
your
new
alternative,
direction.
Adam? I would say.
I mean, you got $10 million to spend. Sign another tight end. Draft a tight end.
Yeah, you could still do that, even with the. I don't know that they're so cash-strapped that you would have to do that. And look, the Cole Kmet conversation's a good one for me. And I've said for a long, long time, I was one of the people that – I know. Early in the year, don't you remember when everyone was screaming their lungs out about how in the world can you not have Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift all on the field at the same time? I mean, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I think Cole's a nice player. Thought when he got here, I don't think they used him properly. He's not a threat in the middle of the field tight end like George Kittle is, or like even Hawkinson from Minnesota, or the kid McBride from Arizona. I just don't think he's that type of player. But when they started to use him and use him well in the red zone and in different situations, you can get stuff out of him. I don't think he's a horrible player. I don't think he's a top 5 tight end. I think he's a good guy, a good player, not a great player. I think that there's no question. One of the things, guys, I think that Ben Johnson is going to provide them is, he may decide that they want to move on from him. I don't think that'll be the case. I also don't think it'll be the case that if they do keep Cole and he is their starting tight end, he's only going to get 50, targets this year, the way that last year unraveled. I don't think DJ is going to average less than 10 yards per catch. I think there are going to be some things that you see that are different and more effective and more efficient now that you've got a better offensive guy calling the shot. So, look, I would defer to Ben Johnson on that. I think that's interesting. I would not have projected that. Again, I'm not going to sit here and pound the table and tell you that Cole's a top 5 tight end in the league, but I still think he can be a productive member of your offense.
Pounding the table.
That's right, Stan, pounding the table. So, Tom.
I thought that was Jerry Jones.
Same thing, same guy. So there's two sides that are conversation about Cole Kmet. One side, and which I'm sure that you're going to hear, Tom, is, well, take a look at the offense that Cole Kmet's been in. He hasn't had the opportunity to flourish. The other side of it is, well, say, for instance, Keenan Allen is no longer with the Bears, which is likely, and that you find someone that's better than Tyler Scott, let's put it this way, like a guy that can play the Tyler Scott role better than Tyler Scott does, better catch radius, more dependable, that kind of thing. So that maybe that opens up the offense more for Cole Kmet in that regard, where you don't have to feed Keenan Allen third down. You already have 2 good wide receivers and DJ Moore and Odunze, and then maybe that opens up the world for Cole Kmet a little bit more.
Yeah,
is that fair?
Yeah, Jonathan, and I would say too that whatever they were running last year was not tight end centric. Like, you were trying to get the ball to DJ, you're trying to get the ball to Rome, and you traded a 4th-round pick and spent $20 million on Keenan Allen. We got to get the ball to him. So it was really like the tight end position in general was odd man out. They brought Gerald Everett in here, and obviously that was a bad decision, and they gave him $6 million. They didn't play him. Like, when they decided that they were going to trade for Keenan Allen, Keenan became a much larger focal point of what they were doing on offensive. Look at Detroit. Now, I know they've got a group of receivers. Patrick, I think, is a veteran who really kind of reestablished himself. But it's Jamison Williams, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it's Sam Laporta, right?
Yeah.
Like, here it was, we got to force it to DJ, we got to force it to Rome, we got to force it to Keenan Allen. And they kind of forgot about the tight end. And again, like, I can argue both sides of this. I can put film on you in the second half of the season, put film on for you and say, I don't know why these guys aren't on the same page. I felt the Caleb Williams, Cole Kmet kind of not being on the same page felt to me like the Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney. And I know Justin and Darnell were good friends. They worked together in the offseason. But then you put on the film, you're like, what the hell is going on here? Why aren't these guys on the same page? And I remember telling you, Jonathan, I think you've shared the same thought. Darnell's going to be fine when he goes wherever he goes. And He went to Atlanta and was good again.
Mm-hmm. He just didn't like Chicago for whatever reason.
Well, whatever it was,
yeah.
it just didn't fit. There were moments in different games where I just don't know why Caleb wasn't kind of acknowledging that the tight end position was a viable destination for the football. But again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Shea's crazy. I'll tell you Shea's crazy at times, but not about this. I don't think it's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I'm just really interested, like you said, Jonathan, to see whether or not that Ben Johnson's offense puts more attention and more emphasis on that tight end position and whether or not he feels – because Sam Laporta is really good, but I don't think Sam fits that, Kittle-McBride category. I think he's big, he's athletic, he's really good, but I don't think he's one of these grand, defense stretchers. So maybe Ben Johnson can take what Cole does well and maximize the return. Go back again and look at like some of the 2 years ago I think he had 7 or 8 touchdowns because they really used him. I think it was at that point it was Luke Getzey, right? Using him really efficiently in the red zone. So
Tommy's with us. An early edition, Tommy. A sunrise edition of Waddle Wednesday.
that is correct. I'm actually going to Mrs. McCaskey's funeral this morning.
I want to ask you about her, if you don't mind,
Sure.
because, I think for a lot of us that do what we do, she was the white whale in that she didn't do many interviews.
No, she didn't have any interest in it.
Yeah, just like, but from my standpoint, not being this hard-nosed Bears fan yelling at her, what I would just want to know is, God damn it, what are you doing, Virginia? I don't want to do that to her. I mean, that'd be wrong. But I would have wanted to ask her about, her legacy, just growing up around football to where she was all the way to her passing, just everything that she's seen. That's what I would have wanted to know.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. It really is. And 102 years, what a life lived. We should all be so lucky. When I got to town in '89, I mean, do the quick math. She was at that point. She was already in her late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I remember her husband Ed, who was the most jovial guy you'll ever meet, and would come into the building singing show tunes. He was an entertainer, and it was just it was kind of a really it was a real family environment at times. I know that she was a very she was very passionate about her faith and her family, and was about football too, but not in a kind of the over-the-top way. I was talking to some people last night at the wake, and just kind of remembering you'd walk on the plane on an away trip, and she'd be right there, and she knew everybody's name, whether you were a player, you were part of the training staff, you were front office. She asked about your family. If you were a member of the Bears in any capacity, you were family, and she made it a point to actually know as much about you as humanly possible. She was passionate, but you would never see I never did, and I don't profess to have been somebody that spent a lot of time with her, but you would never, she wasn't going to throw a glass against the wall when things went bad. She was always very, collected and professional, but she had a passion. There's no doubt. I was laughing with someone that it was like, you'd be, acting foolish, but as soon as you saw Virginia, you straightened up. Everybody did, So there was a natural respect, Jonathan, I think, that everyone felt for her, knowing that she was truly the boss.
Adam, have you heard from Ed McCaskey before? Ever heard him speak?
Just in bite form, not like on. Obviously, I'm not old enough to have heard interviews and stuff like that.
It's just interesting because in '86, I think a lot of people knew that the Bears were going to get their way to the Super Bowl and definitely win it because they were so dominant. But it even took Ed and Virginia McCaskey aback, oh, we've won it.
Brent, we're getting ready for the trophy presentation. Of course, the winner of the National Football Conference receives the George S. Hallis Trophy. And, of course, we have the owners of the Bears, Mr. and Mrs. McCaskey here.
Are we on?
We're on. We're on to make the presentation.
Forgive me, I'm punchy. As I understand it, this is the George Hallis Trophy. Virginia's here to present it to the owners. Virginia?
You're the president. How heavy is that, Mikey?
You have it?
First of all, I want to thank all the coaches, the Chicago Bear coaches, and the Chicago Bear players. I'd hate to think that I had to do this over in the other side of the locker room area. I'd also like to thank the Chicago Bear fans here in Soldier Field and in Chicago and everywhere for all the love and support that they've shown to us during this year and especially today.
How about that, Tommy? Yeah. Irv Cross stunning and Ed McCaskey.
Yeah.
Hey, this is your trophy. You've won it. Oh, we've won. Yes.
Right.
It was stunning at the time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Ed was such an affable guy. I mean, he was great. And you could, you can even hear in her voice, though, how much she appreciated, not just the acknowledgement that they were going to the Super Bowl, but how much she appreciated the fans. And while the success wasn't as consistent as everyone had hoped, and I can guarantee you at that moment, she would have never thought that they would never win a Super Bowl ever again in her lifetime. But yeah, she was just she was passionate about football, but did it in the classiest and most unassuming way. But I mean, last night there were, the appreciation for her was very visible. I mean, I know that thousands, not hundreds. I think there was, probably a couple thousand people came through the wake last night. So
yeah, I can imagine. Like, obviously, it's a horrible scenario, but there are going to be a bunch of former Bears there, like you just mentioned, thousands of people. I don't know how open the funeral is, but it kind of shows, like, a lot of ownership groups, when players leave, it's not usually on the best terms. Yeah. And they might not show up to an former owner's funeral or an owner's funeral at the time. So it just kind of shows, like, not only the impact she had, but I heard on Bears Weekly, the night that it was announced that she passed away, it was an interview with Brian Urlacher, and saying how, like, we never talked football. Like, it was always family and stuff like that. And it just shows the impact she had on, obviously, the Charter franchise and how many players have come through here and how many will be in attendance yesterday and today.
Yeah, Adam, it's such a great point, too, that, even I'm sure that there were some tense moments with guys over the course of years. It's just natural with contract negotiations and everything else. But it never sullied the relationship between the people, the players, or the people in the staff with her. There was just mutual respect. She obviously wasn't involved in contract negotiations, but if for whatever reason you were a member of the Chicago Bears as a player or front office, whatever it was, you were family, and you were treated like family. So nothing but wonderful thoughts. She was a fantastic person, I think most importantly, and was someone who showed kindness and concern to and for everybody that was involved in the organization. So again, I think it's a celebration of her life. 102 guys, like, again, we should all be that fortunate. And don't forget, and I say this not in trivial fashion, but the last game she watched was a Bears victory over the Green Bay Packers.
That's correct.
That's that's like the first thing I thought when we got the news. It was like, oh man, her last game was a Bears win. That's great, especially against the Packers. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. So, not to bring you guys down or anything,
fine.
At this early on a Wednesday morning.
It's a Waddle Wednesday.
That's why you're on.
I barely put my pants on. Okay.
Well, hopefully you put your pants on before the funeral.
Oh, I will. I definitely will.
You see Tommy with cargo shorts. So sorry. Tommy, you're not wearing pants.
That nightmare's a reality when you show up somewhere in just your underwear. Just waddle at the funeral.
Listen, with today's weather, there's less of a chance of that happening.
No, but somewhere Yerk's wearing shorts.
Absolutely.
Yerk was wearing shorts on Monday.
It's the best.
He is. He's incredible. He's one of my favorite human beings that's ever walked the planet because he plays this role. It's Big Yerk. He's a dummy. He's probably the smartest guy in the building by a long shot.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
nothing like the union meeting where he's got the glasses at the top, at the tip of the nose. All right, gentlemen, here's what we're going to do.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Now a good bit of his knowledge may be useless in some areas.
Yes.
If he could tell you all of the different bones in your feet, I'm not sure how much benefit there is to that, but damn, he knows all of it.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
Next time we talk to you, we'll talk to you about Bobby Slowick. What does he bring to the Dolphins team?
I didn't know that Bobby went. Did they hire him as the OC?
No, he's like a passing game coordinator, head passing game coordinator, I think is the title.
That is correct. We'll talk to you
about the
Bobby
floor
Slowick.
falling out.
Yeah.
You had your opportunity, man, and you're a hot head coaching candidate now.
Yeah.
You're barely hanging on to this coaching staff in Miami.
That's odd.
I mean, it's like the last stand for him.
I got to tell you again, I know we're several weeks removed, but I'm thrilled that what the Bears have done with their coaching staff, with Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen, and bringing in Antoine Randall and Eric Bieniemy is not going to take any BS from anybody in that room. So you want it to be coached harder, you're going to be coached harder by all of these guys this year. So.
Man, have a good rest of your day, and you're still going to be on with Miller at 2:30, correct?
Hell yes.
Yeah.
No days off.
Well, for some of us.
Are you going away?
No. I zig when everyone else zags.
It's the Cupid Shuffle, as Tyler called it last night, where everybody
Yeah.
around this time.
Yeah.
Instead of spring trading, we've got the Cupid Shuffle.
Yeah.
So this is about spending quality time with your significant other because it's Valentine's Day?
No,
It's just
because-
the time of year. Yeah.
And because football's over. That's why.
I'm glad football's over.
No, come on.
I am. I need a break, Adam. I do.
You can understand. It's been a tough
Yeah.
Bears season.
Yeah,
It's been
I-
exhausting with what the ride they put us on and 17 games. Wait till they put 18 games on your schedule. You're going to be exhausted even more.
Combine in 2 weeks.
Well, I know I got to regroup for that.
Thank you, Tommy.
All right, guys, have a great day.
It is a Waddle Wednesday with Tom Waddle right here on ESPN 1000. Coming up, we give you shot or no shot right here